Chris. Well, Calvin,
Sean,
welcome. Good morning.
yeah, good to see you.
Today we're going to talk about video games. Or something. I don't know. We're going to find a topic and kind of move from there. Calvin and I haven't talked to each other in a while, and we wanted to make an excuse to do so. Or at least I wanted to find an excuse to do so. So, why not? Calvin, who are you? Tell me who you are.
So I'm a person who was
Good
in
start. Good
the
start. We're people. We are
yeah,
people. We start from there.
I was in the mobile gaming space. But I once the studio I was at went under, I decided to try the indie route and basically see if I could do this solo. And a part of this also is I kind of organize the community events around here for devs. And there aren't a lot of people in the industry at all. And I thought, man, if I can make it and I can prove all my theories correct, I can be a sort of beacon to kind of inspire everyone. So my goal is to show how a single person can be a successful indie dev in today's environment.
Calvin is actually living the indie dream, doing the things that every game designer wants to do, but is too afraid or to give up that chunk of change that they
Hey
get from
man,
their
the
comfy
bank account,
sellout job.
yeah, the bank account is draining, so we'll see.
Yeah, you gotta tell me how has that process been? Because like, look, you and I both went through layoffs. Yours was like before mine, right? And um, 2 years, it went fast. It really did go fast. And I was back to work probably like 8 months into that pandemic, just being like, all right, like I need to go do some stuff and make some games to try to make some cash. And um, these last 2 years have been crazy for all of that. And there's been a decent amount of work, I guess, flying around if you can catch it and find the people and know the people. But how has that process been? Of like, where is the revenue coming these days? So you don't really have to go into it if you don't want to, but you know, like, how is there a process for being like getting yourself over the line, or like how are you managing your time of we always need money and cash to still working on your vision?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in general, I'm a pretty risk averse person, so I wasn't it was gonna be pretty hard to even make this leap. Um, but I'm in a relationship, and then my partner said, "Hey, I can help support you." So
Oh, that's sweet.
not
Yes, let's go. The patriarchy's at it again. That's it. Put those women to work. Hell yeah. No, this ain't going out at
yeah.
all. I'm dead. I'll never work in this town again. Uh,
Yeah, no,
hey,
so
that's
not
fantastic though. It's good to have
not
people like that.
yeah, not the safe not the most general piece of advice, but that's part of it. I am also a generally frugal person, so I had a decent amount of savings. So a combination of that just led to yeah, being able to safely take this for a while.
Yeah.
And you're actually right about the contract stuff. Like there has been I have gotten quite a bit of offers, so I guess it feels nice to have a safety net in
Yeah.
case.
Well, I think the biggest thing is as well is like that I noticed doing the indie route was like, yeah, you're not necessarily like monetarily rewarded. You can get there. Let's be honest here. Like, there's some rich indie people out there, and they're building up those products over time and getting things out, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're getting one game out every year. It's like, yeah, in 2 years, then you'll have two products, and those are 10.99, and they're doing okay, and you're building a little name and community behind you. That's more in our currency within our industry, I feel, anyway, like, than a lot of the other stuff. Like, you go to one of these big studios and you go and say, I worked on X. It's like, great. Like, so did 1,000 other people. Or at a lot of places in the mobile side, like, big teams is like 33 people, so like 33 people working on one game that makes $1 billion is cool, but not many games do that. And how much can you really say that you did within that cycle? Whereas if you're doing it off your own back and show that to people, it's like any little success seems to be like the like something that you can push forward and talk about and show your story a little bit more, right? Like, who you are as a designer, or not even so much that, because I feel like that gets into the whole nebulous thing of design and art and indie and art and like what are you trying to do. But you know, it's nice like working with Giant Fox Studios for the last 2 years, a little indie game studio out here in Colorado. Contractors all over the place, and it's been super interesting to see the change in the group over time. It's like in the last 2 years we got the biggest deal signed for the company, and we're just all like a great little scrappy bunch of contractors, but $500,000 deal for a small company is a big it's a big deal. It's a big deal for us, and to try and push our games forward that way is going to be great. Batsu, our card game, started off as just a pipe dream idea where we just said in a meeting, maybe we kickstart this, and then all of a sudden everybody went into step, and we had marketing, we had videos out, we've now made like loads of TikTok channels like, which I don't want to be a part of at all, but and we're signing, you know, we were 300% funded in like 2 days, and then now we're signing deals with different manufacturers in different countries for like licensing deals, and it's like,
Oh wow.
yeah, in Brazil, you know, it's whatever, it's tertiary markets, but you know, in Brazil there we have a licensing deal that we signed over there, and then we're hoping to get one for Spain and a couple of other countries then too, and
Wow.
use those sales numbers then to show into the US market and bolster our social media side, because that's what's selling board games right now at the big three, Walmart, Target, and Barnes and Noble. Is like, it's not so much about the game itself at all. It's all your branding and social media. It's like, how many TikTok followers do you have? Because they just care is like, can you push product? They don't care what the product is, right? It's an interesting way to think about it, because when people market games or they go and say, I want to publish this thing, or I want to, you know, get this board game out here, everybody always pitches the game, and you know, says it's so much fun. Look at all my market research. Look at these people having fun. It's like, I don't care. I care how many people watch your 30-second TikTok video that doesn't explain your board game.
Yep,
Like,
I 100% agree, and yeah, I've kind of been talking about this with people, and I've talked to you about that kind of studio concept too, where the personalities are all up front and center,
I love it,
and
because if you know, the ways now is monetizing through the video content. If you show the backwards, you know, like get into the background. That's why No Clip, I feel like, you know, has taken off in the last like 2-3 years. They've now been able to grow a studio and everything like that too. It's amazing.
do you think so with the kind of success of your studio, you guys are, I think, all contract workers. Are you like,
Yeah, there's no employees. And it's great. It's kind of nice that way, because we're all able to kind of jump in, jump out, and the people who have stuck around are the people who like want to stick around and like what we're doing, and we have an engaged group of people now. And it also helps to, like, you know, do exactly like this stuff too. It's like, I feel like as an indie, like growing your network and knowing more indie developers will make you more successful over time. Just purely of the fact of just being able to say like, getting on the grapevine and hearing about different things too, like, and being pulled into better conversations. But you know, that's exactly what you're doing too. It's like, bring the community around you. It's like, you're up there in the Springs, and not to dox you completely and utterly, he's not there, I swear to God. And you've been running these events virtually, and you were able to get your events to move over to virtual, right?
yeah,
I tried, and one, in a complete and utter mental breakdown, collapse of my life, I was not able to keep up with it, and you know, and everything, just all that momentum that had built up had completely withered, and it's yeah, pain in my ass. It's something I constantly think about. How has that transition been? Like, what is it like having that schedule, and what keeps you like motivated to keep putting these things on?
yeah. So yeah, both Sean and I used to run meetups in town, and I currently still run the Colorado Springs one. So yeah, we do virtual and offline, on and off nowadays. And yeah, I get it, still get quite a bit of people, and it's growing. But you know, yeah, like you said, it takes a lot of work, and there's no immediate tangible benefit. It's not like, it's not like running a meetup group is gonna give you whatever, all this press or anything. But I guess when I started going to the meetup in the first place because I actually felt really lonely, um, because none of okay, all my friends were just hardcore gamers. They couldn't really care less about
sitting in
website.
sitting in the basement
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
mystery games. I wonder where you guys get it from. Yeah, hell yeah.
Exactly. They're like, "Yo, let's play so and so." I'm like, "No, I'm trying to do this." So, I just really needed to find people who are like me, just kind of struggling to make it. So, I guess I guess a part of it is providing that same community to other people who are in my same situation.
I love the so isn't this is something I've struggled with in my life, and I'm interested here because it sounds like you've gone through this too. It's like my group of friends are lovely. I love them to death, but they constantly tell me that I work too much, and I'm like, you don't know what I am trying to do. Like you don't know how much I care about this. Like I have worked so hard to just get to the point where I can do this, and I will hold on to this fucking thing for as long as possible. And I'm gonna work. I'm working two jobs right now. I'm doing my side bit and I'm doing the full time, and I'm gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna love it because I do. I really do. I get so much more enjoyment out of like the process of building anything and kind of working on something that I care about because I feel like I put a part of myself into it. But like my friends were, they're lovely, but like some of them worked in kitchens, and they're just it's not a job that they care about, so they don't think about the idea of clocking out. Whereas for me it's like, nah, like sometimes I am just kind of turned on and in it for a little bit longer than I should. Finding work life balance is important, obviously. You need to have something like that, and I need to go to the gym, and I'm about 15 pounds overweight. I had the worst hike of my life there the other day, and sweating my butt like just sweating like crazy. But like, I don't know, like what is that like to have, I don't know. It's like, what do you say to those people around you that are like, hey, no, come bunk off. Like, hey, no, like come do this other thing. It's nice to have that, obviously, and you got to make time for those people. But when you want to work and they're like, oh, why are you working so much? Like, do you get that? Does that happen in your life?
Oh yeah, I get it nonstop, and from all angles. There are some people who are working at big tech jobs, like making what's like 300K a year, and they're like, yeah, and they're like, hey, you wanna come over? It's a hell of a lot easier. And it's kind of what you said. It's understandable. Like some of these people have families, and frankly, they like that lifestyle. They like, they like a nice lifestyle where they can get basically whatever they want. So, um,
Yeah, where
it's
money
a,
is no object and you clock in, clock out, and sipping a cup of coffee is still just build time. Like, yeah, right, great. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a trade-off, and especially as both you and I get older, you gotta think about where your life is gonna be, especially if you want to start a family and all that stuff. Yeah, I can totally understand the whole stability thing.
It's a frightening thing. Um,
Yeah.
Look, I'm 30. My dad had three kids by now.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, and that's not to put any moniker on his life or like where, but he did great and worked as hard, worked really hard for what he got, and good for him. He's been retired since 55 and literally hasn't done a tap since he's 70 something now, and he hasn't done anything. But like, I don't know. You know what I mean? The security side of it is huge. Having the ability to enable yourself to do other things is massive. Like being able to also then take that. This is the thing of where I say like maybe there's a different way to indie development that isn't this idealized, um, idealized passion project of sit here. I can't do anything else. I must make this game because I also think that that's a distraction. I think that that's part of this avant-garde art movement that infested our little community of making games for the sake of making fun games. And you can make fun games however you want. Like, it's just a matter of doing it, right? Like, anybody can be a designer. They just need to actually do it and put it out there. That's literally the branding mark of what we do, right? It's like the content has to get out there for us to even say that this is, we are who we are. We are developers or designers or game makers in general, right? So these days, like, I'm really into the slow roll. So this idea of like, hey, like, you can have your full time, but if you can spend 2 hours somewhere in your week, right? Like, if you can just work on something, because especially if you look at how many hours people are really working with even like the work from home jobs and stuff these days, because it is like per hour sometimes with this contract jobs and you're really working to that thing, you might go into burst mode and throw down a bunch of work and then find that, yeah, you might have estimated for this, but you actually came in way under and you got it done because you're efficient and diligent and like a good worker, right? And care about budget and time and like how much you're really charging the client and blah blah blah. But morally, a lot of people don't do that, and that pisses me off as well as somebody who has had to hire people and have to pay them out. Like, they don't pay attention to any of those things. But finding little bits of time in your day to make what you want and then going away from it and thinking about it for a little bit longer and then coming back ready to develop. So as soon as you come back to the table, you're here now for the next mechanic. You're here now for the next story that you wanted to make. And if you chunk your game development up like that, where it's like, what's the next little thing that I want to do, and spend 2 hours doing that, and use all that other time kind of external, and just be like, what do I want that to be, and think about it and think through that process, and then go and put it down. You can get there over time, but obviously time scope. Don't try to make an MMORPG as your first game, but a lot that happens.
Do you think most people are capable of this kind of context switching? Or do you think it's a rare trait? What you described sounds very hard.
It's hard. It is hard. Context switching is difficult. Have you ever had times in your career where you just like, you go home and you're permeated with the same problem? Like, it's like, I have this one game that I'm working on, and it's everywhere. It's like I go home and I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about that game.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
like that game designer brain is ridiculous. But being able to move yourself away from it, I think, is actually a life trait, because it's not about compartmentalizing your life or anything like that. It's actually about managing your own thoughts. So being able to go and say, no, I am not going to focus on this right now. I'm going to focus on this, actually is a great process mindset for a lot of different things in life. If you're in a very stressful situation and you're like, I got 20 other things, they're all bouncing and everybody's coming at me, and you actually have to say to yourself, nope, this is the highest priority, do that now. And that is engaging, because yeah, you might want to think about that thing over there, but you're consciously trying to say to yourself, focus in this lane, this is what you're doing right now, and this is what you're going to get done. And a big part of that, I find, is defining your time throughout the day. So, like, I record all of my time. Like, I have graphs of it now. I found out that my dog is 4.5 hours of my day on average, like, between pets, feeding, dog parks, walks, and everything like that, right? So if you only have a 16-hour day, and I'm trying to build my business, and I'm trying to work my job, and I gotta get my money, and I gotta do all these things, and groceries, and laundry. Are you kidding me? Like, you have to manage your time, and you have to figure out, how do I focus on the thing that I need to do right now? Because this is what I've kind of not defined the time for. Be a little bit loose with it, but like right now, like, my hours in the morning are my own independent time. Anywhere between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. is my time. So I work on whatever I want to work on. After that, I switch into full-time work mode, and I'm there until 7, and I'm in that pocket, and I love it, and I'm doing that work. And then afterwards, I'll take a break. Now it's like 8, I gotta go take the dog out. We go to the park, come back, make some food, watch something, take a load off, and then maybe go back into it about 10:30, for another hour and then fall asleep around 11:30, do it again. You know, is that healthy? No, probably not. But like, build those time blocks. I think is like a big thing for context switching. It is hard though. It's maddeningly
Yeah,
hard.
I agree, and from what I've seen now, I'd almost wager, maybe a hot take. I don't know. I would say
Hot
that's,
take? First hot take? All right.
yeah, yeah. I'd say is the number one determinator for success is your ability to allocate your time to exactly what you want to do. I'd take that over skill. I'd take that over resources. I'd take that over intelligence at this
Ooh,
point.
wow.
Yeah.
Take that over.
Yeah.
I would take a lot of things over intelligence. I've met some dumber rocks people that are great at just like you give them the job and they'll do the task, but you gotta give them one task.
Yeah, yeah.
Just do that and they're really in it. They're just like all about it for that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like imagine you're playing StarCraft and you tell your units, "Hey, go attack this building," but then like only 30% of them do because they can't focus on what you actually told them to do. That's kind of like what happens if your brain can't stay focused.
Yeah, I feel that. What are you doing outside of work though these days? Right? So like we all have to find time for ourselves and time for everything else, but you got community work, you're working on your own games, you got, anything that's gotta make you money at the same time too, and you're fully into that. So and you have your relationship and your partner you gotta maintain. So what you were at this mystery game tournament the other week? That looked fun
Yeah.
as hell. Like it's
So yeah,
do these happen often these days? What's going on here?
yeah. Actually, it's now a monthly tourney. Oh man, I've been loving all the COVID stuff being lifted. It's felt great. Kind of like I don't know, like a proper spring. Like everything's blooming again. So yeah, the community's growing and it has a monthly tourney. To answer your question, like yeah, I due to being able to be outside a lot more and around people, I started going to libraries to work and
Nice.
coffee
Okay.
shops.
Yeah.
And basically, what I did was I chose a coffee shop that happens to run these fighting game tournaments like every week.
The
So I
coffee
just
shop runs it?
yeah, 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 exactly.
That's nice. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just worked there the day, and then when the tourney starts at like 7 p.m., I just walk over there and just hang out. It's been a great outlet for sure.
Like an end of day,
Yeah, yeah,
like playing games with the crew. That's
yeah.
hilarious.
So
And I
yeah,
guess a bunch of people like hang around for it then too, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's easily 20,
God, they're gonna get
15.
so busy.
Yeah, no, it's been great for the shop itself.
Is it like
Um,
gaming coffee? Like what is it? Or is it
so
just a
actually,
coffee shop and they were just like, let's do this? Like,
it,
what's the origin of this?
yeah, it's a place called Level Up Coffee, and
Oh, okay.
it's gaming themed drinks. But other than that, oh, I guess they do host like D&D and Warhammer and some other stuff. And eventually, the fighting game community, or it's called the FGC. The FGC found it, and they're like, "Hey, let's start running tourneys here."
That's sweet. I like that. Wait, who's the FGC? The fighting game.
Yeah, it's a general term for the whole fighting game community.
Yeah, because you guys do roll as a unit against all
Yeah.
other gaming communities. The fighting game
Yes.
community is ready to throw down and fight anybody at any second at all times. You guys are threatening. It's money matches. We're playing weed tennis. Like I don't care.
Man, you don't even know how accurate that statement.
You like start bulldogging people for $100 a Wii tennis.
Yeah,
Like anytime.
I was talking to a friend. I was introducing one friend to another, and I was like, "Yeah, this is my friend. He's surpassed me in all games except maybe Tekken." And then immediately he was like, "Yo, money match me right now." That was his immediate.
That's so funny. He's like, "Fuck you." Tell me though, right? So I'm gonna switch topics a little bit. So one of the things that you told me there the other week was that you've got one of the top games in strategy on itch.io, right? Big website for indies, massive. I've seen it. It's on the front page, and Tell me the game again. It's because I'm gonna say it wrong.
Yeah, my main
Ball,
game I'm
fall,
working on
ball, or
is
fall, ball,
Fall Ball
fall.
Fall. Yep.
Right. So fall, ball, fall is a ton of fun. The visuals are incredible, and it's like dynamic and exciting, like action gameplay, but with all of the just like falling balls and idle, and it's great in that sense, right? Like it keeps me entertained while I watch it. But what does that mean in terms of success, like in translating success, right? Because there's so many great games on itch, and some of these things do get picked up, and I think that personalities shine, right? So like the YouTube uh, game developers now that are like, what's this guy's name, Mizizo or
Yeah.
something like
Right.
that, right? Like he's blown up now in the last like couple of months, put out his own little project as well. It was retro PS1 style graphics. It looks kind of cool. Uh, but his game developer 4-person 1 toolkit YouTube videos have been like really inspiring, right? And those have then trickled now, I think, into a lot more into the itch and more into he's run a couple of game jams in the same kind of vein. So
Yeah.
like they'll find success there off of that platform, but it helps build that community there and helps get other people behind him and everything, throughout. So do these games like make anything in terms of like is there any way to capitalize on that itch success? How would people do that? And like is itch a platform to even grow? Like do you need to have an external persona, or can you grow on itch and try to break out that way and into like a monetarily successful thing? You know what I mean? Like what's
Yeah.
that? What do you think that process is?
No, that's a great question. I definitely think you definitely need to funnel itch into something. However, there has been a lot of success stories from what I've seen. Yeah, because itch, I don't think you can monetize it. I haven't seen it or really looked into it, so
Minus
haven't.
selling your game there, I guess,
Oh,
is the
right.
biggest
Yeah,
thing,
no,
right?
of course, I totally forgot about that actually.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
But like, I think Radar Jam is like a one that I've seen. Like, I think started as like an itch indie dev thing, and then the guy put it out on Steam, and then got a couple of different videos and some traction. But like, I guess that's the thing is, can you just put a game out on itch? Obviously, you can't put a game out anywhere with no marketing, no anything these days. It's no community. It'll just tank. You won't see a return, right? But how do you actually like try to capitalize on one of those top category successes, and is that something like how do you work that angle then for that free game that's getting loads of plays, and try to move that into something else, or do you have to make a whole new project? Are you able to, I don't know what you do. I don't know
you
how you
know,
get your name out there on that side.
now that you mentioned selling a game, I will say I used to really be pessimistic about itch, but I'm seeing the numbers because you can very easily see analytics for your game on
I
itch.
I
So
want to
it's very
see.
nice.
I love analytics.
Yeah,
Like
you my game, even though I made this game in a week, Fall Ball Fall, and I don't update it ever, it still consistently gets like several hundred plays a day,
nice.
which is really crazy. It's a 1 hour experience. So to sustain that much daily play, it's really incredible. There must be a lot of new eyeballs seeing the game for some reason.
The
Um,
Congregate was a good platform for this, right? Like
it
you could
was.
put stuff out and still monetize off of those free plays, right? Like, hey, like, yeah,
Yes.
you're getting 100 plays a day, but like, how long are those people staying on that page? And if they're playing for 13 minutes at a time, like, there's some, I don't know if Itch even plays in or embeds like ads into the website these
No, I
days,
don't
right?
think
So
so.
maybe they just don't have that side of the platform and they don't want to build that out, but that was a nice thing in the past, right?
Congregate was absolutely nuts. People don't even know. Like people have no idea. Just think about it logically. You have this. It's a Congregate was a platform that had incredibly few devs because all the devs kind of moved to mobile.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the population never left. There are still an incredible amount of people that just want to play a quick flash game.
Yep.
So I was able to get like I don't know, like
Ki-
just several 100,000 plays
Kids are
easily.
still in computer lab they're
Yeah.
still trying to get the miniclip.com. Like, it's still Stickman Figures is still a brand. Like,
Yes.
don't forget it. 20
Exact.
years.
And actually, a little piece of news for you, um, that you might find interesting. Congregate said, "Hey, we're doing a revamp,"
Yeah.
uh, and they haven't. They basically like shut everything down like maybe 3 years ago. They said they're doing a revamp. I have no idea what's gonna be,
So
but people are
company org
talking.
restructure.
Yeah, yeah. So we don't know, but there's some hope in the community that this will maybe rise back up. So that's kind of interesting.
Look, it's not like Congregate didn't have the cash. They were having
Yeah.
great success with all of their mobile apps. And to be honest, as a publishing partner by themselves, I think that they were monetarily making way more money on that side. Now the point
Yes.
is like how do they become the next app store? Right? They already have users, they already have accounts, they already have loads of these people looking for all of these games. And back in the day, like when I was working on Kings of the Realm, we had a web platform that was all through Congregate. So you could play on mobile, but you could play on your web client too, and it was all the same thing. And would just work natively, which was cool as all hell, right? Like, and that's where the market is across the board now is going. It's like you can't just put your game out on console. You have to put it out on console and mobile, and getting to mobile is now become the challenge, right? You got to figure out the tech hurdles to be able to do that, especially if you're going to try to use shaders and nice graphics and stuff. But um, I want to see more of that, like more of this cross pollination between all of the different platforms. But I could see Congregate really trying to go heavy into how do they become a real app store platform again. Not apps, because obviously lockdowns, blah, 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 but same thing. Somebody was telling me a long time ago that like HTML5 is just like so underutilized. Like
Yes.
all of these games
Yes.
that we're making now could all be run on the web with like, and could be there, load in an instant, or any of these things. And we don't necessarily need to do this whole NVIDIA streaming from a server where the game is actually being played and blah blah blah. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
and there's been a rise in I don't know the details, but I know there's a rise in like monetization options for HTML5 so that you can completely bypass the 30% cut from the app stores. Yeah. There's been a shift. There's been a shift in that direction.
That would be nice. Because like if you look at the comedy world now, a lot of these people are going direct to, it's B2C now. You know what I mean? It is straight business to consumer, and being able to get around and be independent of these these giants, right? Now, thankfully, I can't believe I'm even saying it. Like Epic fought for us, or fought for something. I don't know. Fought for their own bottom line, but it worked out for us in our favor. And now Apple and Google are giving much lower cuts for any sort of developer that's making under 100,000 or under 1 million, depending on the platform. So
Yep.
that has actually been a big savior to some of my clients that, they see the return. They do. They're like, all of a sudden, like, this thing was, $90 that they were getting in their checking account. Now they're getting like 120, and they're feeling a lot better about it. Yeah, they're still small numbers, but they're at least enjoying that something is on the up. You know what I mean? So we'll see if that continues to last that way, though. Like, I don't know. How are we gonna get games to people in the future? Like, what is the best medium to get a game out there, and not to bring your name, but like just what's the easiest way to get a game out there these days? Like, it's probably just Unity, and just dump it an APK to the Google Play Store. Is that still like the quickest way to get a game out there?
No, quickest way is probably still just itch. Just faster to build. Uploading takes like 2 seconds. You just need an account. So I think, yeah, HTML, and that's also partially why itch, at least especially back then, didn't have as great a reputation because you just go on it and then you're just like, what games are good? And so
And
yeah,
loads of them are
no curation.
broken. Like
Yeah,
half of
yeah,
them are buggy pieces, like
yeah,
buggy messes
exactly.
from game jams that nobody ever finished. And they were like, I have 3 seconds left. I gotta get something up.
Exactly.
Me. But that's a great shout, though. I think it is still probably the quickest way to just get something out there. Because yeah, like
Right.
the Google Play thing is still got to go through approval, and the approval process is brutal.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays on iOS, like there's so many hurdles you have to go through and prerequisites, and the whole uh, Apple tracking. It's called ATT. I can't remember the full. Apple App Transparency something. Blah blah blah. But the pop up that they give you that says, "Do you want to be?
Oh,
Do
yes.
you want like
Right, right.
local like analytics to be tracked or whatever?"
Yep.
Yeah, people like we've been scrambling to try and like, or we were scrambling to try and like figure out a real solution to that because I don't think we built a lot of our products to be that decoupled away from analytics too. So even just saying like no, like we're like, what do I do? Like I have this rat's nest of analytics all over the place. I can't just like
Yeah.
shut it off. Like there's no set it to false here. So we had to do a ton of rework to try and do that. Maybe it was overkill. Maybe we didn't need to do that, but like it felt like that was the only way we could get through a review for like a solid 4 months was all right, we just got to make this change now. And
Yeah.
from our side, like that's a big chunk of budget that you're not working on the game. You're not actually working on the thing that's gonna hopefully make you any sort of cash down the line, right? But what is that belief in your mind, right? Like that this will be something, right? Like how do you hold on to that acorn or that nugget of something? And I think that this goes to just the entrepreneurial mindset in general of like I will make it. Like this will do something. Like and it doesn't need to be a big splash, but maybe sometimes something is enough.
Yeah, and that's kind of that is what the the prototypes the prototypes like I said before, I'm fairly risk averse, and if I hadn't had the numbers to show that this was going to work, I might have been a lot more skeptical about this. Although I don't know, I'm still kind of confident guy in general. I just waltz into a fighting game that like quick side note, like I've been learning Tekken for basically the first time, and
Okay.
Tekken is a series that's like 30
Serious.
years old.
Yeah.
It's 30 years old. Everyone knows how to play, and it's very serious. But I'm just like, I could probably do this. So yeah, there's a. I guess there is. I guess you need an underlying
Who you playing?
confidence. I'm playing a new character. He's called Fakaram. He's
Oh
this big
god.
Muay Thai guy who's like 10 feet tall.
Okay.
But it's really funny because he has a unique mechanic, and as long as nobody in the community is familiar with it, I can still use it pretty well.
You found one thing to abuse. You're
Exactly.
like, I'm in. This is it.
Yep, yep. So that also leads to confidence. But yeah, like it is small successes, um, and through my prototypes, I'm trying to think about how this could apply to a lot of other devs um, who have to go through this.
This finding success early is a big thing, right? Like you need to get some confidence under your belt. I think is a big part of the funnel, right? Like when I tell people about the funnel of uncertainty, they get kind of confused. But the idea being that like at the absolute apex of the tunnel, I have a decision to make, and then every thread or line of way that I could do that goes down that tunnel. And I could go down any of these pathways, but like which is the one that's is going to work? And the more threads that kind of go down, the more it fragments into different threads because all of a sudden then I could make different decisions and not knowing enough and gives you that freeze, right? Or gives you that pressure where you're just like maybe I only have one shot at this. Maybe I only have this, blah blah, blah. And then we hyper focus into that like one thing, and put all of our marbles on that thing and say like this has to work, right? Like that's been my past, and understanding that like as you pull the layers back from that decision, like being able to objectify away from it and just saying let's just build this part of it, or like let's just put this thing out, or let's not worry about all of the things that could be, and let's focus on what is now and what am I actually making, and will I get this out by the end of the week, or will I build this thing? And like, you know, there's got to be a part of you that puts something out there and says like, is anybody going to play this? And also, does that matter, right? Like, how much we weigh that decision of how much do we really care that somebody is actually going to play this. I think I care that more people enjoy what it is rather than play it, right? But we do put like this emphasis on eyeballs on game rather than maybe on gameplay too, and I think that that's like can be a big hindrance when you're putting out some of your first stuff where it's like, yeah, it sucks, and nobody plays it, and you're like, fuck, I suck, like this is the worst, and you gotta get past that somehow. What's that whole moniker? It's like, you know, just get the first 10 games out as fast as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know, just kind of. So lately, I've been trying to really understand psychology at a
Okay.
very fundamental level. So I'm gonna maybe toss out a lot of tidbits on these things as I learn them. But yeah, you don't take an action unless you have a reasonable amount of confidence that you can uh, get there. Or you know, if it's too much work, you're gonna be like, nah, I'll do that. You know, 5 years from now. But yeah, so as you like pile on these small successes, is interesting because not only do you feel like you can get your game up, but you do also get more ambitious, and your goals can shift. But yeah, I started with the prototypes, and I got really great feedback, and I've been more and more greedy with some of my goals. And I don't think I told you this because it
You
sounds
haven't
so dumb.
shared what you're working on with me at all. I have
Oh,
no idea. I have not seen it in I don't think ever of like the next version of the thing. I know
yeah,
what the base is, but I don't know what I haven't seen it yet. And I'm excited.
yeah.
I'm constantly excited.
So the extra confidence and the new goals isn't directly tied to the game, but basically at some point, and partially because some people challenged me, I was like, I want to be an absolute top world class game designer, like one of the top ones. I know it sounds ridiculous, so hopefully there'll be like 200 more episodes of this podcast where I eventually achieve it, and we can look back at this episode when
No,
I
it's
made that
so
statement.
oh god, it's so funny that you say that cuz like what is top, you know?
Yeah.
Cuz like the thing for me is like I've told my dad this, and I'm just like, Dad, I'm sorry, I won't be the amazing, extraordinary, revolutionary game designer that I said that I was going to be, right? Like, and it's not that I've come to terms with it. I think I've just shifted the value proposition of what it means to be top. It's like when I jump into a team these days, it's like I just want to be as structurally strong, sound to those people. Like I'm on my
Yeah.
team, I got my design team. You throw me a problem, I'm doing it as best I can, and like that's my superpowers. Like you can put me anywhere in games. It doesn't matter if it's level design to combat to progression, economy. It doesn't matter. Like these days, like I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna do it as best I can and absolutely crush it out as fast as possible. And I think that that's top. I think that there's like a level of top within bigger company structures that those people just don't get shown off, right? Like, and it's not the directors, it's not these creative directors that you see in videos and stuff. There's
Right.
like individuals that contribute that do just savage work, but they don't. It's not highlighted in the same way. So I think that like being a top these days, and when we're talking about it, is like the fame and superstardom that comes along with it, right? Like people know my name, or they read my book, or they've something to that effect. Like the worst part is like the guy who did the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide, I don't remember his name, but I've listened
Yeah.
to his goddamn voice more than I've listened to most other
Yes.
people. I have cried playing the Beginner's Guide. That game broke me beyond belief. As a game designer, I just was like, I will never make anything as creative as this. And I was just I was devastated for a solid like 4 days. I couldn't get over it, and like that's I. What is that compared? What is that in terms of top versus these people who build commercially successful games, but still put a really level of emphasis into great gameplay and great design. Like, I don't know,
No,
you know what I mean?
that is a great question, and thanks for keeping me in check. I didn't want to sound like super arrogant in that, like, oh, these guys are top and these guys are top.
No,
You're
no,
right.
you're not.
No.
It is genuinely a funny thing for me as a person who, like, I don't know where they are right now, but oh, here, like, my favorite game design book of all time, Game Feel. Oh, come on, camera. Come on, camera. Come on, camera. Do it for me. No, Game
Yep.
Feel. Right. This is by. I would love to. I would love to put Steve Swink. I'd love to put out. And this is a Ralph Costner book, right? But
Yep.
like Ralph Costner teaches at NYU, so like he doesn't. I think, right? Doesn't he do it? I think he
Yeah.
does. So,
It,
like, are they top now? Like, is Ralph Costner still top? He doesn't put anything out, but he made a book, and it's a critically acclaimed book. I know he made a
super-
bunch of stuff in the past, you know, and now he's doing indie stuff that nobody plays or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, so where do we find top? And do we need a. Is that, like, is there a defined place that we want to be within this? Like, I don't know. I'm rambling now at that point. But
No, actually incredibly relevant to my answer. And first off, I will say, yeah, top is fairly subjective. I think a lot of people would have a different definition. I think
you want
you're
to be
right.
known. We want to be known within our field, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think most people would absolutely go the popularity route. They will say, "Oh, Kojima" or something. Like they'll name one of the names that you know. But if I were to define it, um, I define it very similarly to how I define a top gamer,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna purposely categorize this to put myself into that top gamer bracket.
Okay. We're
But
nice.
so what I personally specialize in and like doing, I like doing mystery tournaments. And the definition of a mystery tournament is a game or a tournament where every single round you have to play a random game. It could be any genre and it can be from any era. Um, so it's literally everything. And if you wanna think about maybe a more relatable example, it's the equivalent of if you entered the Olympics and each round was a random sport. So, and I guess maybe CrossFit is kind of similar in theory to that, where they're like, hey, this is the fittest man on earth because they can do any sport. So, with a mystery game tournament, to win a mystery tournament, you have to be good at every genre. Basically, you have to be completely well-rounded. You're gonna see games that you've never seen before, so you need the foundation to be able to dissect it and then create a winning strategy immediately. That's how I define a strong gamer, because when they have those properties, those are the people that you invite them
Oh
over to
yeah.
play a game, and they're dominating,
Yeah.
even though they've never seen the game.
Yeah.
That's how I define a top gamer.
They're also the best people to work with. Because exactly what
Oh,
you were saying before. It's like the people who can find the answer are the people who will be successful. Like, it's not necessarily about, like, oh, I have this degree or I went to this college or anything. It's like, hey, can you honestly go, like, here's a problem. Find me the solution. Find me
yeah.
something that gets me to here. It doesn't matter if it's the real one, but pull a string or something. The amount of people who don't pull that string is incredible.
I heard a good quip about who you want as your startup partner. They said you want to grab a startup partner who can free you out of some prison in Iran or something.
Yeah.
So somebody who's willing to do whatever it takes and figure out a creative solution.
But are you that person to them then too? Like, are you now putting so much emphasis on like they're gonna actually just build my company for me?
Right. Yeah, I hope
I
not.
just found a smarter person, a
Yeah,
more
it was
capable
like-
person, paid them less.
So yeah, so to tie it back to my answer, what's a top game designer? First off, I'll just name a couple that I do highly respect. One is I personally would put Raf Koster at the top.
Nice.
personally.
Okay. Cool.
if you've seen any of his deeper talks and stuff, he knows like every discipline, or has
Hmm.
dipped his toes in them, and he can string them together in creative ways to figure out things that other people struggle with.
Hmm.
I'd put Dan Cook under that as well. And his blog is very popular, so he's
Hmm.
influenced a lot of people. So those are kind of the two names, and like you said, nobody in the just the normal gaming world really know these names because they haven't made anything since. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they've done a lot
yeah,
of theory, which is great. You know, I feel like that's where great people do go after a while. Is like they have all of these ideas and they can't get them out to the individual, and they can't really have deep discussion with other people because it's like philosophers talking to each other sometimes. Like that's what game design is in a lot of ways. It is a mash of a lot of different principles and ideas to build a perspective lens that allows you to look at something and say like, can I make something out of this and tell you something compelling? Or like am I trying to tell you something, or am I trying to make you feel something, or am I just trying to make you, enjoy the experience? Like what does that even mean, right? But in this world right now, it's like, are those people thriving and are those ideas getting out there as well is like a big thing, because now all of a sudden they've gone to the academics. Their books are expensive. These things are 40, $50 a pop. The average child is not doing that, and they're getting their game design knowledge from random individuals on YouTube and watching these tutorials. So like, how do those people then get back into either the, like, do they need to get back into the zeitgeist of everything, or is it like the people who are in the know are in the know?
damn, I almost feel like they don't. I mean, of course they want to, like you said, everyone wants to be recognized for their work, but it's like, man, sometimes they're just like pulled more into the theory and like getting everything correct than it is to, let's say, open up a YouTube channel and spend time like watering down a lot of their message so
Hmm.
that people can understand it.
Or even just recategorizing some of it. You know what I mean? But making it more available, I think, is like these. There's also a generational thing here too. It's like they've now gone through from the very beginning of video games, as it
Yeah,
were, and now like our generation is like the ones who have like watched them, and now it's, well, who's gonna watch us, right? And that's, again, that sounds really narcissistic. Nobody's watching me, but the nobody should either. I'm an idiot. But that, are we now is it us, I mean, is it newer developers, or is it the people who are in those more senior levels should be pushing this down more too, and kind of going from there? And I think that there's, like, what do we, obviously there's an entire deeper conversation of what do you refine off of even those things, right? But of their ideals and what works now, right? Like what doesn't work anymore as well is like a whole thing. I wish that somebody would put out a book that's just mobile game mechanics, like the base, right? So it is like, process all of the current game tropes that we have, this moment to moment gameplay, meta layer, this whole match and decorate, and just write me the process script for making these systems, stick it in a book and say, do better. Great, there's your base. Now we're here, right? Stop doing the same thing. Like, fragment again, or find some different way. But like, you guys have been doing, we've been in mobile, and this gets me back into like top dongs and commercial successes, and how you see yourself nowadays as more art or design, right? Like, when you're an independent developer, you're putting out, are you putting out art, or are you really designing? Because designing to me is like you are making something for an audience, like properly, right? Like, so in terms of commercial successes, I focus on the player and the individual, the user, as much as possible, but I do it through the lens of like their experience within this confined mobile game, right?
that's a great
Whereas
definition.
whereas I don't think that the guy who made the beginner's guide, I should really look up his name in the next couple of seconds, but I don't think that he's designing things. I think that he is an artist in the sole fact that he is trying to walk you down a story and walk you down a path, and tell you, and like impart an experience to you, and then let you interpret that experience. And that's the big thing about art to me, is like, I make this thing, this painting, this vase, this whatever, and I let you figure out what it means to you, Whereas design is like, no, I'm gonna kind of spoon feed you and like try to actually make you feel that thing. And that's like I don't know, like do you feel like you are trying to create art, or are you just trying to design something that works? Because from indie game developers perspective, it's like, am I trying to make my opus maxim, or am I trying to just like get something out that's a commercial success, and do all I care about is getting a base, and like, hey, if it's people enjoy it and they're in buying it and they're having fun, is that the thing that I care about the most, right? Like, what's this? I mean, there must be a struggle there between those
Yes,
two.
absolutely, man. You put it into really good words as to what the yeah, what the opposing forces are. I think I'm a little lucky, and this ties a little bit into what I was saying with a top game designer. So I guess I'll first define that before answering that. So I think a top game designer understands gaming and fun and play and all the fundamental aspects of game design so much that they can innovate at will.
Hmm.
That's kind of my definition. And yeah, if like you said about somebody that just grows up on, let's say, mobile games, they're probably gonna just make a mobile game that you
They're
can
the
use.
same. It's hard to get
Yeah,
out of the box as well.
yeah. You especially what the older designers did, because there's no games to really go off of. They had to take in life experiences, and that's how you can kind of breathe some fresh air into your game design. So, to talk about art versus design, I, I I think I'm a little lucky. I seem to have a pretty good knack for um, innovating in games. So that's why I don't think it's just design, and I don't think it's just art. I guess one of my messages, like if I'm to be an artist, and the message I want to send to the world, it's a very angry message, because I firmly believe this, and I believe this ever since I kind of quit gaming, which
Oh, you
is,
quit gaming!
oh
Oh
yeah,
my god,
I
dude,
mean
we
I
haven't
was,
even gotten into this
yeah.
yet. This man plays mystery game tournaments, shows up, smokes everybody, doesn't care. He's an absolute assassin. But guess what? No, he quit. He quit gaming and then came back just to beat these people at a coffee shop.
Funny and arrogant thing I want to say about that. So, uh, in a double elimination bracket, if you lose the first round, you effectively have to play twice as many games to get back to the top. I actually told the people, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
You didn't know.
I didn't do it. I told them, I maybe next time I will throw the first match so that I can prove something. However, they switched it to a single elim bracket, so throwing my match would have suicided me.
Oh,
So,
that's so funny.
but
So you gave them the strat, and they were like, "Ah, we can't let them do this. We just can't. Nobody will ever come back. We
yeah,
just can't. We gotta do it for fairness."
right. But I think it was around the PS2 era where that was when I was starting to not like games.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
you just like stopped liking them in the PS2
Yeah,
times.
I was liking them less and less because I was seeing the same stuff. And
Huh.
certainly as a so I actually started with DOS games. I'm not that old, but it was because I had a
Oh yeah,
cousin who was
I am.
I had a cousin who was like 7 or 8 years older than me, and he just like gave me hand-me-down games.
Love it.
So from an early age, I was playing like Civilization. I played Civilization. I had no idea how to really play it, but I was exposed to a lot of games from um, from a lot of platforms early on. So, and I believe I haven't actually read A Theory of Fun, but I believe um, Raph Koster talks about how fun diminishes as you can no longer learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I was seeing all these games that I've kind of seen before, I just got more and more sick of games, and it got even worse in this modern era, especially of AAA games, and playing it safe and not exposing you to new things. I just can't have fun with them.
Yeah, right. Like a series of interesting choices, but when the choices have all been kind of made, and yeah, I'm getting the same FPS game, and I'm gonna break into the same room in the same types of ways, and it doesn't matter to me these days of like how many ways you can kind of chunk up that idea of how many times can I break into a room. It's like
With a different story pushing you along.
right?
Yeah.
And they always seem to then go to lockpicking, and I'm doing Skyrim again, and it's like I'm here, like patterns. We have become very patternistic when it comes to innovation, where we are shoeboxing pieces of other games into other games, and it's not in the sense of like um, of innovation. It's like we get innovation in the sense of like we get like a new puzzle, but it's the new puzzle with the same pieces, and there's only so far that you can stretch that. I think that there needs to be a time where like we have to like there's a like in design or in I like to like run an idea until it just has no legs anymore, until it just completely breaks, right? Like blah, like I'll sit there for art for my Instagram, and I will just regenerate new image, tweak parameters, and I will do it for an hour and a half until I'm just so sick of it. And
Yes.
I just can't do anything more with this idea right now. And we need to push it that far, but it's I think for the vast majority of people it's already hit that breaking point. And maybe
Yeah.
that's what we see within our own like the gaming angry gaming community society as well. It's like dude, yes, you are playing the same game over and over again. Like that's it. So you're mad, pissed off every single time because you are getting the same game. It's just that it doesn't really, it just has pieces of other things that come together, I guess, in the end. But this is why like companies like Naughty Dog tend to stand out a bunch above the rest, right? Like they are making as close to art as possible, or as you know, or at least that's how I see it. But you know, how do we move that forward? Because there's this balance between commercialized success, how much money it goes into making a video game, making a company. Like most people have never even had to pay another person to do work for them, and the stresses that come with that, the challenges that come with that, communicating your vision. All of a sudden, you're an indie game developer, and you're like, I need these art assets, or I need a level designer because I just don't have time. But it's in my head, but it's not in their head. I have all of these core communications, these things that I want to say, but they don't have that, and they don't have the same passions. Like, how do you even get that across to people? Like, when we're going from these small groups and just us into hopefully in the next 10 years into our own you know our own little things and our own groups and communities, like these are the challenges that are the toughest that I've faced in the last 2 years. Absolutely, it's not making the games, it's working with the people to make the vision. It's a very different process now.
Oh yeah, that is a huge problem and a huge question. That would take up like 5 hours
All
of
right.
more talk to even address.
Yeah, all right, we're at an hour. We're at hour 5. Hopefully this was good. Whatever. We'll do it again. We'll see. We'll figure out what topic we'll go from there. But
Yeah.
Calvin, thank you very much. I appreciate you,
Awesome.
and I'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, had a good time. See you later.
Bye.